Before sunrise, fresh satellite imagery shocked military analysts across the world. More than 130 Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps fast attack boats were spotted gathering inside the Strait of Hormuz in massive coordinated formations. The images spread rapidly across social media and defense networks because this was not a normal military exercise. These boats were positioned like a real combat force preparing for action. Within hours, the United States military answered. F-16 fighter jets were launched into the region. Super Hornets began combat patrols over the water. Apache attack helicopters were deployed near key shipping lanes. Suddenly, one terrifying question began circulating everywhere. Could the Strait of Hormuz become the next global flashpoint? One mistake, one missile, or one aggressive maneuver could trigger a massive military escalation involving the world's strongest powers. But what the United States revealed next may have completely changed Iran's calculations. The biggest question is simple. Why did Iran publicly reveal these boats now? Normally, military forces try to hide their positions. This time, Iran appeared to want the entire world to see them. These vessels are often called the Mosquito Fleet because they are not traditional warships. They are small, extremely fast, and heavily armed attack craft designed to overwhelm larger enemies through swarm tactics. Instead of relying on giant destroyers, Iran focuses on speed, confusion, and numbers. But analysts immediately began debating the real purpose behind this deployment. Was this only a bluff meant to intimidate the United States? Was it a warning connected to rising tensions in the Gulf? Or was Iran preparing for a real military confrontation? The timing made the situation even more suspicious because American operations known as Project Freedom had already increased pressure across the region. At the same time, rumors started spreading about a mysterious Iranian military figure operating quietly behind the scenes. To understand this crisis, it is important to understand the Strait of Hormuz itself. This narrow waterway is one of the most important shipping routes on Earth because a massive percentage of the world's oil supply passes directly through it every single day. If conflict shuts down this corridor, global energy markets could instantly panic. Iran understands that it cannot directly match the full strength of the United States Navy, so it developed asymmetric warfare tactics instead. That strategy relies heavily on fast attack boats swarming larger targets from multiple directions at once. Over the years, Iran repeatedly practiced these tactics during naval exercises. Recent American operations under Project Freedom already destroyed several Iranian vessels while escorting commercial shipping. Those losses weakened Iran's traditional naval capabilities significantly. At the same time, internet blackouts, economic pressure, and growing public frustration inside Iran created even more pressure on the government to project strength, both internationally and domestically. What happens during the next few days could determine whether this remains political theater or erupts into open warfare for everyone. As the world watched nervously, new Sentinel-2 satellite imagery began circulating across military intelligence networks. The images showed more than 130 Iranian fast attack boats gathering in carefully organized formations near islands and hidden coastal launch points inside the Strait of Hormuz. Analysts noticed that many of the boats appeared to move into position during the night, likely using darkness and coastal terrain for concealment. Some vessels were clustered near narrow waterways, while others remained spread across multiple staging areas, suggesting a coordinated operational plan instead of a simple military exercise. The formations immediately raised alarms, because this type of positioning is associated with Iran's swarm warfare doctrine. Every image seemed to send the same message. Iran wanted the world to see that these boats were ready. The response from the United States military came almost immediately. Central Command released fresh imagery showing American aircraft already operating near the strait. F-16 fighter jets were conducting sorties across the region, while carrier-based FA-18 Super Hornets maintained combat air patrols over critical shipping lanes. Apache attack helicopters were also seen flying low-altitude missions near the water. The timing was impossible to ignore. This was not routine military transparency. It was a direct warning aimed squarely at Tehran. The United States wanted Iran to understand that every movement inside the strait was being watched in real time. American commanders were signaling that if those fast attack boats moved aggressively, the response would arrive within minutes rather than hours. At the same time, President Donald Trump released dramatic imagery connected to the Strait of Hormuz. The photographs showed military activity and naval operations in the middle of rising tensions. Supporters described the move as strength, while critics called it deliberate escalation. But strategically, the purpose was obvious. This was psychological warfare. Both sides were now communicating through military imagery instead of traditional diplomacy. The message was carefully designed for multiple audiences, including Iran, American allies, global energy markets, and domestic political supporters. This was not diplomacy. This was deterrence. Every image was meant to shape perception before any missile had even been launched. Behind all the headlines, another name quietly started appearing inside intelligence discussions: Mustafa Salami. Unlike his brother Hussein Salami, who became famous for fiery speeches and propaganda appearances before his death, Mustafa remained largely invisible to the public. He rarely appeared in media and maintained a much lower profile inside Iran's military establishment. That difference immediately attracted attention. Hussein represented public ideology, while Mustafa appeared more connected to operational planning and strategic coordination. Some analysts began questioning whether he was helping reorganize Iran's fractured command structure after months of military pressure. Others wondered if he was now acting as the bridge between the regular Iranian military and Revolutionary Guard commanders. His silence only deepened the mystery surrounding him. Iran's strategic position was becoming increasingly dangerous. Much of its remaining naval capability was now concentrated inside these small, fast attack craft. At the same time, Iranian leadership faced growing economic pressure, public frustration, and fears of instability inside the country itself. That combination created an unpredictable situation where military escalation could also serve political survival. But the real danger was not simply the existence of the boats, it was how Iran planned to use them. In a real conflict scenario, hundreds of these vessels could launch from multiple directions at once, firing rockets, autocannons, and anti-ship missiles, while overwhelming enemy defenses through sheer numbers. Military planners understood the danger immediately. Even advanced warships can struggle during saturation attacks involving dozens of fast-moving targets. In a worst-case scenario, the strait could fill with speeding boats, while fighter jets screamed overhead and missile systems locked onto targets across the water. However, the United States also possessed overwhelming technological advantages. E-2D Hawkeye aircraft could detect incoming formations from long distances, while F-35 fighters shared targeting data through advanced battlefield networks. Apache helicopters, naval guns, missile defense systems, and even A-10 Warthogs could all participate in destroying the swarm before it reached larger vessels. Yet the biggest revelation was something deeper. Iran intentionally revealed these formations because the images themselves were part of the strategy. The United States answered with its own military visuals because perception had become another battlefield. This conflict was no longer only about ships and missiles. It was also about information, fear, and control. Whether this crisis turns into open war or remains strategic intimidation may depend entirely on who controls the narrative next across the region.